I'm Matt Warren, and thank y'all for stopping by. You know, some people see me judging livestock, but also just handle cattle. We also, there's a, for those who show cattle, there's a halter breaking video on YouTube that the University of Florida has done several years ago, and I actually looked the last time, there was like 9,100 views on it, so if you're into showing, you can also go look at that as well. But anyways, first time I go ahead and if I can have me a volunteer. Come on up.
I raised my hand first though.
What's your name?
Aubrey.
Everybody say hi, Aubrey.
Hi, Aubrey. Hi.
Good deal. So Aubrey's come here to watch cattle handling and low stress, high stress, and all kind of stuff. So we want to make sure she's not paying attention. What happened? And so, what just happened here? And so one thing I always like to refer to is when we start talking about handling is one, there's a what we call a flight zone. It's the personal space. Do you have a personal space? Yes. You're like, peace out, get off around me. So if I start getting up here really close and start talking to you, you're really nervous, aren't you?
No, I just don't like people.
Just don't like it. Just don't like it. Okay, good deal. And it's just like when I started hollering, you got
I wasn't
scared.
ready for that.
You wasn't ready for it. Good deal. And thank you. You can sit back down. Appreciate it. The other thing, that's one thing about it. You know, people are just like cattle. Cattle are just like people. Everybody's a little different. And when we start talking about flight zone, it's talking about their personal space. And it's just like us. We have a personal space. Me and my wife are totally opposite. I'm a hugger. She is not a hugger. And it's like, get away from me. Peace out. And so, same thing with people. Some of y'all don't like people right in your personal space. Now, if you're friends, you don't mind having a close conversation or whatever. But if somebody comes up there that you don't know Jack from Adam and starts talking to you really fast and really loud, you're going to be like, peace out, dude. I'm on. And so, that's the same way it is with cattle. And so a lot of times when you get them in a pen, they don't know who you are. And so they're a little back offish. But as we know, some of you who show cattle, how many show cattle, steers or heifers? You try to get away with that flight zone, and they allow you in their personal space a lot better than when you first started the year out with them. That makes sense? And so it's the same thing. And that's what we call flight zones in cattle. And that's their personal space. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at a little bit today. One of the other things we talk about is their point of balance. At what point do you make a move where? And so that cattle have a point of balance. One thing to remember, cattle's eyes sit on the side of their head. They don't sit right in front of their face, but they sit on the side. So sometimes, you know, it may not be, that may be a little harder seeing right in front. You'll see them turn their head every now and then, especially when you get right behind them. If you're walking right behind them, you'll notice they'll turn their head. They want to see where you're at. There's several signs of cattle that you can tell whether they're nervous, whether they're curious, or whatever. Number one, look at their ears. Right now, if we look at everything, they're looking at us. Their ears are pointed to us. Even if they're not looking at us, one ear is sort of looking at us. And so they're always paying attention to us. They want to know where you're at. And so we'll see that here in just a second. The other thing is, it's a telltale sign, is their tail. Watching how it switches. If it's switching really fast, they're probably pretty nervous. And so you want to sort of back off of them just a little bit because they're already nervous, you know, where they're at. But that's a telltale sign that they're also nervous. The other thing, they poop on themselves a lot. They'll poop a lot. And that tail wagging just smears it all over their butt end. So for those who show cattle, one thing I look at, because I look at a lot of video sales, if I see one that has a really dirty back end, I know they're probably a nervous calf. And so that's the same thing y'all can look and think about as well. If you got one that's, you go to look for a calf or show calf or something like that, and you got one with a dirty back, probably because they've been swishing that tail and they've just been in a nervous situation. So it may be one you may want to not look at. Or if you go out in a pasture and one of them picks his head up, the ears are pointed to you, you know they're nervous already. And I don't know if we used to have one that you walk out the door and they're already going around the pens. They already see you and know, you know what's going on. So everything's different, just like people. You have a flight zone and you have a point of balance. Flight zone is what? Personal space. You get in their personal space, they're going to move out of that personal space. Flight zone is personal space. The point of balance is, what point do we make a move? What we want to do is draw an imaginary line, usually around their shoulder area. If you go in front of their shoulder, they're more likely going to turn away from you. If you go behind their shoulder, they're going to walk away from you. That makes sense. And one thing, and we'll see that here in just a second, one thing a lot of people don't think about is when you're pushing cattle into a little pinning lane or into a chute. Like when you're working cattle, you have chute and then you got cattle behind them. A lot of times, if you walk from in front of them back, that will move them forward. Because as you walk past their point of shoulder, they're going to walk forward. And so it's sort of weird, but you just walk the opposite way you want them to go sometimes because you're walking past that shoulder and then they'll go forward. So is there any questions anybody got right now? All good? Good deal. What I'll do, I'll jump in there and we'll just talk about the point of balance, and we'll talk about the personal space as well there, your flight zone. We got one with a flag and one without. Either or, this one just gets a lot more attention. If you got a nervous calf, that'll make them move a little faster than you want to sometimes. But what I call extended arms. That's all they are, is an extended arm. And it just lets me reach out there just a little further if I need to get one to turn or something like that. Same thing with a show stick for those who show cattle. It's just an extended arm, so you don't want to get right up on them. They don't like that, but yet I can actually touch her with this so she don't mind it near as much. Does that make sense? And so that's sort of what that is, an extended arm. Notice they got their ears on me. They're watching me. They're keeping an eye on me. As I walk to them, they're going to watch me again. See how she moves? I'm in her personal space. So they want to move out of the way. So as I get in my personal space, that's how I move these cattle. And so we just sort of move them pretty easy. Now if I start to just go with the bigger heifers, and we can move them pretty easy. But notice their tails start switching. They start getting a little more nervous as they come through the gate. And so that's sort of what their flight zone is. And they're going to walk in the cow pens because I didn't shut the gate, but I'll bring them right back out. Notice when they ran out, they hugged the fence over this side. They did that for two reasons. One, y'all look really weird over there. So the other is they know the gate's right there in front of them where they need to go through. But the main thing was because y'all are new, they're like, I don't want to get too close to them over there. And so that's one thing we're looking at. Now, point of balance. The black heifer right here. I'm not going to be in her personal space, but I'm going to walk into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk into it in front of her shoulder. If I go in front of her shoulder here, she's going to turn that way. Now, I'm going to get her let go this way. Now I'm actually she's going to keep on walking because she thinks that gate's open over there. But now that I'm actually behind her shoulder, she'll move forward. Alrighty, now is she standing right here? She's actually really lost her flight zone a lot. As this morning, she would not let me get near this close. But as I'm right here, I'm making her move. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk in front of her to the point of her shoulder. The point of her shoulder is that front part of that shoulder. So if I do that, I can make her move, turn around and run. So that's one thing. You get in front of that shoulder, you're going to make her go which direction do you want them to go. Now two things are happening up here. If I can get her back up here, one of them. I want to bring them both up here real quick. I want to show you something else. Now if I go to hooping and hollering, they're going to get a lot more nervous. Just throwing your hands up in the air, see how they sort of take off. So that's one thing that we just want to be quiet about them. I'm going to get in front of her shoulder, make her turn. Now, one other thing is is when the cattle are herding animals. They have a herding instinct. And so a lot of times they're okay by themselves. But when you start moving and just leave one of them here by themselves, then they get a little more nervous. See how I just got back and I stepped forward in front of their shoulder. Now, as I move her out, she's going to get a little more nervous. If she stands there, she's going to be standing there, she's going to be pushing around, watch her tail. So she's a little nervous, she don't want to stand there. So, but as I move her on, she'll go back to the other animals and then she'll just start walking. And so that's one of the things you got to remember is cattle are herding animals. And so when you get them by themselves, they're going to be a little more nervous. Those who show cattle, that's why we like to always have another companion when they go on a trailer or go to a show somewhere, because they're at least with something else. And so they're actually herding animals. They're just a little more relaxed in their overall makeup. Now, the other thing you saw sort of how nervous they are. I'm going to get the other two calves up here. Now we got steer calves up here. Sometimes they're a little more relaxed than the heifers are. I'm going to refer this back to people. Girls who show, y'all in showmanship are so much more tense than showmen. And that's why a lot of times y'all get sort of picked up into the front end of the class. Guys, y'all tend to like to sit there and think about hog hunting and big trucks with tires. And so you're just sort of like, just, okay, I'm here, you know, whatever. But the girls are just more focused. That's just the way you're built. You focus on more things. And it's like, I remember going to a stocker operation a guy had, and he said he liked to have women in his operation because they see things. It may be little things that guys just drive past because we really don't care as much. But girls are more particular. Same thing with these. The heifers that come up, they're a little more, okay, what's going on? Versus the guys, sometimes the steers come up here. Sometimes they're just like, okay, whatever. I'll go back over here when I can. And so that's something, I relate things back to people a lot of times. Because it's just like y'all, we're all different. The animals are all different as well. Remember, you have the point of balance, which is going to determine where they go. Walk in behind their shoulder, you're going to make them move forward. Walk in front of their shoulder, you're going to make them move, turn around and go the other way. Not always the case. Sometimes they know where they want to go and they'll try to go. But the more you get into their personal space, they're going to move in the opposite direction that you go. Then the other thing is their flight zone. Trying to break down that flight zone a little bit. Remember, as calves, the cows come in the pen. If we're hooping and hollering, the calves are going to remember that. The cows are going to remember that. So when they get in this pen, they're going to be nervous. So the next time you bring them cattle in the pen, guess what? They're going to be nervous again. But if you just walk them in here quietly, you handle them quietly, it's not going to be a bother when you bring them in the pen next time. They're just going to be like, okay, whatever, and then they'll come back out. And so that's one thing about animal handling and stockmanship I want y'all to remember. Point of balance, how do you turn that animal? Flight zone, where's their personal space? Can we break down that personal space if we need to? That's the big thing in the show cattle industry is if you got show steers and show heifers, you're trying to break down that personal space so you can get with them just a little closer. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions that y'all have? Comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, or aspirations?
Do any of you show?
Yeah, how many of you do show? Okay, so
wow.
y'all do show. Okay, that's great. And so that's one of the things about it as we look at these animals. How many have ever put a halter on one and tried pulling them with a truck or a four-wheeler or a tractor or something? Okay. How many said it was 100% successful? It's one of my thoughts too. I'm gonna ask, come on up. I did volunteer real quick. I want to show y'all something. What's your name? Curtis. Curtis. Everybody say hi, Curtis.
Hi, Curtis.
Hi, everybody. So cool. All right, Curtis and me about the same build. Y'all say okay. We're about. Anyway, so if you're thinking, did I hear a hog around here story? So the one thing I want y'all to remember is when you got a steer 500-600 pounds when you're putting a halter on him and trying to lead him, and you're only weighing maybe 100 pounds at the most, so it can be a little difficult test. So if we were grab each other right here, I got a lead rope, he got his halter on, and we get him tug of war contest. And so we start pulling each other, and he can pull back on me as just as much as I can pull on him, correct? All right, so now I want you to keep your feet planted. So if we're in a tug of war contest now, it's a lot easier for me to pull him off balance. That makes sense? Versus if we're pulling head on head, he can pull back, he can lock in as well. So thank you. So I want y'all to remember that. When you're getting a calf to lead, pull them to the side. Don't pull them straight on head. And then you relieve the pressure. As they take that step, you get back to them. The problem you have with a truck, four-wheeler, tractor, whatever, is you pull, you pull, you pull. They have no clue when they're doing right. You just pull them. Versus, you take them to give that, they take that step to you, you get back. And then that relieves the pressure. And they said, oh, so that's what I'm supposed to do. And so I'll end up going in a circle with them for a little bit, 1 or 2 steps, then I'll relieve the pressure, scratch them with a show stick, let everything know. So that's what I want y'all to think about. But your flight zone is you're trying to break that down. Like we talked about, this extended arm. Not a weapon, it's an extended arm. And so same thing with a show stick on a show steer. You're trying to break down that flight zone, use your extended arm. Scratch them with it a little bit, and then shorten that arm a little bit. And then a little more. And then before you know it, you'll have your hand on them. And so that's what you're doing, letting them know you're not there to hurt them. Same thing as these cattle right there. We're letting them know we're not there to hurt them. And so they're not as nervous as we. Now if I jump this fence and go running into them, hooping and hollering, you're going to jump just like she did when I hollered at her. And so, and they may end up going out that fence, they may come out this fence, they may crush a gate, but it's going to, being quiet, being calm, going to keep you safer, it's going to keep them safer, and you don't have to repair as many fences and as many boards as you have to do. Does that make sense to everybody? So what is your flight zone? Personal space. What's the point of balance? Just where you can make a move. Getting in front of that shoulder or getting behind that shoulder. Remember, like we talked about, cattle can't see right behind them. And so as you get right behind them, they'll turn their head just a little bit to see where you are. So that's the point of balance. And so, but cool, we good on time?
You have about 7 more minutes, so whatever you want to talk about.
So is there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any tips? We have a steer who, he was fall born last year, so he's like almost a year old. But he's just so stubborn. Like, he's sweet as can be. Like, he'll come up and like almost love on you, but
Correct.
like he's so stubborn with walking.
That's correct.
So what tips do you have for that? Like, it's almost like he just doesn't want to walk. Like, you'll get him out of the pen finally, and it's like slow moving.
I'm
like,
here. Okay, and sometimes what happens is, just like people, some people don't have a flight zone. They don't care. Come on up to me, talk to me however close you want to get. I don't care.
Right.
Same thing. Steers get to be that way, and they get lazy. And sometimes you do. I'll twist that tail. Get somebody behind them, twist that tail, and walk behind them, a little bit. And that makes them say, okay, you're going to hurt me if I get right behind, if I don't do this. But when they start walking, you get back to them. You relieve the pressure. And it's just like I go a lot back to breaking colts. I broke some colts for a while. And one thing about it, the difference between there is we would have day workers there that when they break colts, they just spur them and just get them to do what they want to do, manhandle them if you want to say. Versus I've spent 2 weeks on groundwork, and then I just would do pressure. And then if they did good, I would relieve the pressure. And so when we're like in the pens, their horse is very nervous versus mine is just sort of going around doing its own thing. And it's the same thing with the cattle. You want to relieve the pressure. If they know what they're doing right, then that's good. And sometimes they do get where there's no flight zone at all, and you want to just go, okay, we're going to have to increase that pressure on you from behind, to get you moving, twisting that tail just a little more and trying to get them. But like I said, a lot of times, pull them off to the side. If they don't want to lead forward, pull them to the side and make them take that step. And then, you know, I've been going where we're in circles.
That's what we were
And
doing
so,
last night.
so yeah, and so don't worry, it'll come to you, but it's just part of it. Sometimes they just get lazy, if you want to say. So, great question. Any other questions anybody has? Who's his first time here to the experiment research? Awesome. How many did everybody take a tour this morning? Okay, good deal. It's a pretty neat research facility. You know, I was actually born on the other side of the county, but now we just live 3 miles, so it's sort of neat to come over here and see what they actually do. Yes, ma'am. Did you have a question?
Yes, so I have a steer, and we're about to show him, but when we start walking in, we know he doesn't want to come with us, like walk same as us. Sometimes he'll like walk really fast, or he'll get like right under us.
Yeah, I know exactly what you said. A lot of times that actually shows up a lot in heifers as well. They tend to want to walk fast and try to outwalk you sometimes. Don't hesitate, and when they start walking fast, stop them. Stop, scratch them, and then start walking in, and they start walking fast, stop, scratch them, and let them know, hey, we're fixing to stop. You know, and remember that. But yes, you're exactly right. There are some that do that. Make sure you stop them. The biggest thing is keeping your arm extended. Don't let them walk over top of you, because they will push you, and remember they're a lot bigger than you are. So always try to keep your arm extended, keep them away from walking on your heels, and don't work them in Crocs. Don't step on that foot and it hurts.
We had a heifer. We would, you know, pull on her from the side and everything, and she would crow hop straight at you, and we could never break her of it. Do you have
Really?
any?
Any tips on that one?
That she would hop like.
Yep.
And she's the sweetest thing you've ever seen, but she did not want to walk, and she would hop.
Right, yep.
And between me and
And
him, we're both super tiny.
and that's hard. What I would actually do, and we had a Brahma heifer like that,
Yep.
and what we actually did was just get a little further off the rope a little bit and do it. Don't try to do it while she's right there, but just keep over time, and so you just don't have to, you know, deal with it. And, you know, some are totally different. Some of them get over it a lot quicker, and some of them don't.
We got a Brahma who is extremely stubborn. You can rope her, that's fine. You go to lead her and pull her, she'll fall to her knees or
Yep.
roll over.
Roll
and
over to
play
the
dead.
side. Yes, they will. They'll
How
do
do
that
I
every
stop
time.
her from doing
And they'll get over that. They will finally get over it.
When
Her eyes roll back and she sits there and you think she's dead and you gotta kick her and she'll wake
You
up.
didn't wake up, I know.
But then she'll go straight to her
Okay.
knees again.
Okay, yeah, and I've had some of them, and Brahmins are some of the smartest animals as far as the cattle side of things. They are smart, and so they say, okay, this is how I can get out of this.
This is the tamest, like you can go and sit on her back in the middle of the pasture. She
And
does
she
not
care
care.
less.